publisher friend of mine had just moved to a new publishing house, and the old publishing house that he was working for, they created a magazine called Skeleton Crew, which was a horror magazine. And so he, kind of out of an act of spite, said, "You can do a horror magazine for us," which became The Dark Side. And I gotta say, I didn't choose the name The Dark Side because do you remember that series, the George Romero, the George Romero Tales from the Dark Side? I always felt that was too much like that. I was going to call it, I don't know, a Scream probably, actually, but someone else took that title.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to call it something different, but I thought Dark Side's okay. And then when it came to things like the logo, the guy who designed the magazine was he drew it. He drew the logo, and we liked it. And it's my first magazine I ever edited. And remember, in those days, it was such a process. I don't know those of you work in publishing nowadays, but now it's just, the first thing they sent me a font book with all the fonts. They said, "What font do you want your text in?" And then everything had to be typed, so nobody was, it wasn't done on the computer. So all the editing had to be scribbled in the margins, and then it had to be typed out again, come back, and then it was such an arduous process in those days, and we were only allowed to have so many pages of colour. So the first issue of Dark Side went on sale in 1990, and we had a big launch party at the London Dungeon over here, and by that time, there were a lot of people I knew in the horror scene. I was very good friends with Clive Barker, Ingrid Pitt, Caroline Munro, David Warbeck, a lot of the people who were kind of in quite well. David McGillivray has always been a good friend, who wrote a lot of the Frightmare and stuff like that. And we went out, but the magazine only lasted a year because we were in this big building. The publishers were Maxwell Specialist Publications. Now, Robert Maxwell, I don't know if you know of his history, but you know of his daughter Ghislaine. She's not very well thought of either. He's absconded with a lot of pension funds and was found dead. He fell off his yacht or something. Someone pushed him, I'm not sure. And so at that point, the company closed, and they told me they'd lost £100,000 on Dark Side in a year. And I said, "How can you lose that amount of money on a magazine?" They said, "Well, there's the rent of the building, there's the cleaners, and what I mean." And I thought, and so I said to the guy who used to do the repro, which is the guy who created all the film to make the thing up, he and I were good pals by then, and I said, "Why don't we just buy it and do it ourselves?" And so that's actually how the magazine happened. And I think one of the main reasons we've survived so long is because we are not a big business enterprise. We are a cottage industry. We do it all from home, and I have a lot of freelance friends who do it. And also, doing it myself, we were approached not so long ago by a big company that wanted to buy our magazine over here, and we said no because I said, "Next issue we've got like Todd Slaughter on the cover." They didn't know